ABC Kinderteach presents Harriet, You'll Drive Me Wild. Written by Mem Fox, illustrated by Marla Frazee. I'm guessing that must be Harriet because Mom looks a little bit mad, doesn't she? Harriet Harris was a pesky child, a child that gets into trouble a lot. She didn't mean to be. She just was. And she's blowing that horn and the dog's like, oh, that sounds scary. I better get out of here. One morning at breakfast, she knocked over a glass of juice just like that. And look at how she knocked it over. She was turned upside down on the chair and she must have knocked it over with her knee. Her mom looks maybe surprised. The dog is being rained on by the juice. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, Harriet, my darling child. I'm sorry, said Harriet, and she was. And look at the dog is shaking its fur, probably getting the juice all over the place. At snack time, she dribbled jam, or spilled small drops of it, all over her jeans, just like that. And her mom's on the phone and thinking, what did Harriet do now? And it looks like she knocked over the Cheerios. I'm surprised the dog's not eating that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild. I'm sorry, said Harriet, and she was. And when the mom says you'll drive me wild, she really means you'll make me upset or angry. Before lunch, when Harriet was painting a picture, she dripped paint onto the carpet just like that. So she must have been painting somewhere else, and then she had this very, very wet, drippy piece of paper and it dripped paint all over the carpet, and her mom was outside. Now, she does not look that happy, right? I'm guessing not. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do? I'm sorry, said Harriet, and she was. So she seems to get into trouble, but she doesn't think about that she's getting into trouble till after she's done it. At lunch, Harriet slid off her chair and the tablecloth came with her just like that. So she slid underneath the chair and she pulled the tablecloth with it, and look at everything goes. The mom tries to stop it. Broke some dishes. Oh boy, is Mom going to be really mad or not? She doesn't like to yell. Let's see. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, Harriet, my darling child, Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do? Harriet Harris, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry, said Harriet, and she was. She looks a little bit mad, doesn't she? And the dog looks worried. Later that afternoon, when Harriet was meant to be napping, she ripped open a pillow just like that. 1,000 feathers flew in every direction. So the dog must have been pulling on it. I think the dog helped to tear the pillow and make all the feathers come out. Do you think the dogs didn't get in trouble? And look at, there's the mom, must be doing something else. There was a terrible silence. A terrible silence means it was very quiet while her mom was figuring out what was going on. And look at, you can see Harriet through the door with all the feathers flying around. Do you think the mom's going to get mad this time? Let's see. Ooh, she does look pretty mad. She looks like she's yelling. Then Harriet's mother began to yell. She yelled and yelled and yelled. "I'm sorry," Harriet cried. "I'm really, really sorry." Her mother took a deep breath. "I know you are," she said, hugging Harriet tight. "I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have yelled, and I wish I hadn't, but sometimes it happens just like that." And so she's giving Harriet a big hug. She didn't really want to yell at her. It was just something that happened. "Big mess," said Harriet. "A very big mess," said her mother, and she started to laugh. And they laughed and laughed and went on laughing as they picked up the feathers together.